Hello everyone, my name is Karina. I go by Cartsy on social media, and today's video is part 2 of the prom dress series. For this dress, I went ahead and I purchased for the first time velvet. Although I have been sewing for a long time, there's still quite a few materials I have never tried yet, and velvet is one of them. Because the whole dress was made during quarantine, I was restricted to the materials I had at home. So throughout this whole video, I am thinking about how can I maximize what I've bought before quarantine and a little bit of curbside pickup during quarantine. So during this whole process of this video, you'll see all the things I have to pull out and how I have to think about exactly what I have and how can I make what I have work. Okay, so what I have done is I have gone through all the embroidery, making sure everything is matching up, and I've gone through with needle and embroidery floss and fixed all the small areas where maybe the embroidery was gapping and needed to be more dense, or maybe there was a spot where something was just slightly off. There are 2 back panels I have not cut out yet because I have to make sure the shape is correct, and I am going through everything. And I think the next step I'm going to do is to take this with an iron and start opening up those seams. What, Paco? What, baby? Now that the lining portion of the corset is sewn together, I'm going to go ahead and iron these seams open. And the purpose of ironing these seams open is to get the corset as flat as possible. I went back into my stash and found a roll of polyester sew-on bone that I ordered off Amazon a long time ago. When I first bought it, it was a mistake. Now that I have it in my stash, I'm going to take advantage of it and start using it for the corset itself. So as you'll see, I'm going to be sewing down these bones onto the portion of the corset that I just ironed open. And this is going to help provide structure to the corset. I'm not using anything fancy. One, I don't want to deplete my supply of steel bone, and I think I should use that for more of a later historical project, and I think this is good enough for this project. I have a whole roll in here. Hi, dog. So I'm sitting here wondering exactly why I keep breaking needles. Like, it's been like twice. I broke 2 needles already. And then I'm like, wait a second. Let me try to fix this. Maybe I can do something different. And so I just switched my stitch from zigzag to straight stitch, and then suddenly my problem was solved. So I'm staring at this corset and I'm trying to figure out what to do now. But I think one of the things that I'm going to do is take some of the bones and put them diagonally to help support that triangular shape that I'm creating. One thing, if you notice about bones, is the reason why they're called bones when you're making stuff like this is because it provides the skeletal structure to the garment, and beforehand the fabric is almost like flesh if there was no skeletal structure. So it just wants to collapse and just do and stretch in odd ways. And so when you add bones, it allows for everything to shape into that shape that you want. And it's almost like sculpture. I'm going ahead and cutting out the back pieces and the modesty panel. Now the modesty panel's purpose is to go underneath the lacing of the corset in the back and to hide your skin underneath. So as the name suggests, it's for modesty. I have to iron down the bones in the modesty panel because the plastic likes to curl because it's been in a coil its whole life. So by applying heat to the bones, I'm able to make them straight. Now the back panel of this corset took a while to achieve because originally I was doing it wrong. Not wrong in the sense of I was doing anything technically wrong, but wrong in the sense that I had something in my head that I wanted for this corset that I've been dreaming about for a long time, and that's lattice lacing. But I went on autopilot, and instead of doing and reminding myself that I want lattice lacing, the autopilot side of me went straight to grommets. So I started making back panels that required grommets. And then later on, I'll stare at this and then I'll realize, oh wait, no, this is not what I wanted. And then I just rip everything out and restart the back panels. This time creating loops and sewing down all 24 loops onto the back panel by sandwiching them in between the seam. And this creates a cascade of loops, which will then be laced with ribbon later on to create the lattice lacing effect. Okay, it's the morning and now I am revisiting back to this. So what happened last night was I was doing the, I believe it's called lattice slicing. I have to double check on that pronunciation, and Paco's walking by right now. But what's happening is I was doubling up the ribbon, but the ribbon looks so cheap. I don't like the way it's reacting to the lattice lacing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to be replacing it and making a ribbon out of my leftover material. And this ribbon is gonna be a little bit wider than this. And it's also gonna be the same color as the corset. So no longer will I have this black contrasting thing. So I scrapped that ribbon. It is in the cabbage bin right now. And instead I decided to make my own ribbon. This time taking my leftover material from the corset and cutting on the bias like you would to make bias binding. So I ended up making these very, very long strips, and then I sewed these strips together, ironed them down to be able to create creases, folded them over, and sewed that instead. And I was able to make a really, really pretty ribbon that was able to do what I wanted, which was the lattice lacing effect. So my first fitting with the actual embroidered corset on went well, but also not. My main problems with it was the back panel. The back panel was, again, too big. So later on you'll see I have to go back in and take out the back panel and make it smaller. But overall, the corset was giving me a very lovely silhouette, and I was very, very happy with it. So I took a paper pattern of the back panel, I slashed it down to around the waist point, then I folded the paper over and slid one side of the paper to the other. I then taped that down, folded over the top, and this created a better shape to fix the back panel. So now the lattice lacing can be straight down instead of having a pyramid effect going up. By hand, I hemmed the velvet skirt, and also by hand, I grabbed my trusty thimble and spent a couple hours sewing down some bias binding to make the inside of this corset look pretty. Okay, so originally I was gonna leave this part of the corset unbound. Yeah, it looks a bit disgusting on the inside. And then it looks more pretty on the outside. Yeah, originally I was gonna not bound that. But it looks like, for my sanity, I cannot physically not bind these and be able to be mentally happy with myself in this dress when I'm wearing it. Thinking about like, oh no, only something I can see when I take it off is wrong. So yeah, that's my current thing. I'm working on binding this part. On the bright side, even though I know this camera is completely cutting me off, you know what is pretty? The top of the inside. And I think it's because I made this top so pretty that I want to make the bottom pretty as well.
Perfect.
Here I'm just doing the final adjustments, just hemming the velvet and finishing off the binding on the bottom tabs. Don't be alarmed, I'm just bringing in some fire, and the reason why I'm burning the ribbon right now is to stop it from fraying. And without further ado, here is the finished dress. Although this dress took a while to complete, I'm actually very happy with the result. The lattice lacing in the back is my favorite part of this dress. It's so beautiful to see the tree on top of the black velvet and then spiraling up. For this to evolve from a silhouette I drew last year to something that I actually can have now is something truly beautiful. My favorite photo is this faraway photo we took. You can see a bit of the silhouette of the dress from afar, and although I'm a bit of an obscure figure in this image, I love it mainly because of the architecture around me. I had a lot of fun going around with my mom, photographing the dress. We went all around Winter Park finding locations that she had scouted before, and then we had some fun. Although I'll never have the senior prom that I hope for, I know that my graduation class will never be forgotten, and that I worked hard and nothing can take that away from me. And now that prom is done, it's on to a very exciting project. If you've been binging this series on Netflix recently, then you'll know exactly what I am cosplaying next. I entered the Cosbon contest, and now I am one of 30 finalists competing to make a cosplay. So for this competition, I will be making a Kyoshi warrior from Avatar: The Last Airbender. So stay tuned for this giant build.